How's it going, everybody? Marvel Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 73. This issue came out in June of 1969, and we are going to be looking at a brand new first appearance today. That is Man-Mountain Marko, as well as another key villain that's going to be in this issue. So we have a lot going on as we continue with this storyline with the clay tablet. And so last issue we saw Spider-Man go up against the Shocker, and he was able to defeat the Shocker, but the Shocker had hidden the clay tablet in a place that Spider-Man does not know where that clay tablet is. So now Spider-Man is out on the investigation. He's looking for clues as to where the Shocker hid the clay tablet. So we have a lot going on today. I hope you don't click away because we have an exciting issue to look at today. As always, this is brought to you by Stan the Man Lee, who wrote this issue. We also have John Buscema once again being the innovator of this issue. We have John Romita doing the artwork, as well as Jim Madmoon Mooney doing the illustrations as well, and lettering by Sam Rosen. So let's go ahead and continue the story here as we look at the first appearance of Man-Mountain Marko. Who the heck is that? Well, before we get to Man-Mountain Marko, we see here that Spider-Man is going to pay a visit to the Stacy's residence, and he's wanting to specifically talk to Captain Stacy. But we see here that Gwen Stacy is checking up on her father. We saw how Captain Stacy had gotten injured by the Shocker last issue, and now we see that Gwen Stacy, who is also seeing Peter Parker at the time, is looking after her father. And so we know that Captain Stacy is an elderly gentleman, and so she is just doing her best by paying attention to his needs. And so we see that Gwen Stacy leaves the room here, and here we go. Spider-Man is going to make the scene here. Captain Stacy is not appreciative of Spider-Man breaking into his house, but we have seen in the last issues that Captain Stacy is supportive of Spider-Man and that he doesn't see Spider-Man in a negative light as other people. And so Captain Stacy gives Spider-Man some good information here as to where Spider-Man can locate that clay tablet, and he tells Spider-Man that the Shocker had an ex-girlfriend, and this girlfriend just happened to be an exotic dancer, and so she should know where that clay tablet is. And so he gives him the location. It's a West Side, and it's the theater district. And so Spider-Man swings off here. He doesn't get her name, as he should have asked him, but he knows exactly where to go. And so that was some good information that Captain Stacy gives Spider-Man here. We see here that Spider-Man finally has his spider sense tingle here. And so Spider-Man lands on top of this roof here, where he comes across a huge scene here where he overhears this tablet, the hidden tablet. So of course he is in the exact spot where he needs to be. And upon looking in the window, he sees this giant gentleman here who calls himself Man-Mountain Marko. So here he is. He makes his first appearance. He is a huge guy. He's probably about 7 foot. A lot of strength. He is just destroying this girl's apartment. This is, in fact, the Shocker's girlfriend here. We know that the Shocker is in prison now, as Spider-Man was able to defeat the Shocker last issue. And so we see here that Man-Mountain Marko is looking for this clay tablet. And so Spider-Man makes the scene here, and Spider-Man is going to fight this guy for the first time, and this guy puts up a big fight towards Spider-Man. We see that Spider-Man is just, even though he has his super strength, I mean, Man-Mountain Marko is not going to be easy to take down. So Spider-Man thinks that he's taking him down by shoving him into this wall here, and he's asking Shocker's girlfriend here, hey, look, I know you're terrified of the Shocker. You're afraid that he might come and look for you if you give up the clay tablet, but give it to me and it'll be in safe hands. We see here that Man-Mountain Marko starts to gather his senses here, and he pretty much tackles Spider-Man once again, clobbering him with this chair, this piece of furniture here. Now let's change scenes here. We know that the Kingpin was arrested a while back, but that he broke loose, and a few of Kingpin's men were left in prison, one of them being Wilson. We see here that Wilson is being let out on bail here. Somebody paid his fine for him, and he thinks, well, it had to be the Kingpin, but instead it is this other guy here, and his name is Caesar Cesaro. And so we learn here that Caesar Cesaro is a part of the Mafia. So we have the introduction of this crime organization called the Mafia here, and they are taking Wilson for a drive here. And we learn here that they're wanting to use Wilson to decipher the tablet. Well, Wilson acknowledges, look, I don't have that tablet. And he said, well, we know that, but you're going to tell us the secret. And so Wilson doesn't know the secret, but we see here that we'll see how the Mafia used Wilson later on in this issue. Now let's return to the battle scene here. We see that Man-Mountain Marko comes across this hidden safe here. This is where Shocker's girlfriend hid that clay tablet. We see Spider-Man gets back on his feet. He's going to try to take down Man-Mountain Marko once again, and Man-Mountain Marko shoves him right into the wall, breaking that safe here. He grabs the clay tablet, and so we see here that what he's going to do next is he's going to continue to fight Spider-Man. Now we go change scenes here to the Daily Bugle, and we see here a great conversation, one of the greatest conversations I've seen that's really relevant today. We see here that Joe Robertson is having a conversation with Randy, his son. Randy is wanting to quit school, and Joe Robertson is not happy about it. Joe Robertson tells his son that education can be used as a weapon and is so important, and that holds true to today. And we see here that, again, Randy Robertson, all that's on his mind is, look, we're living in Whitey's world. You know, this is the white man's world here. And we see here that Jameson, after recovering from his illness here, he is going to basically get on to Joe Robertson here because Joe Robertson published articles about Spider-Man being a hero. So we see here that Joe Robertson stands up to Jameson here. And one thing I loved about this conversation is Joe Robertson says right here, just because Jameson is white doesn't make him a racist. And we see this all the time in, you know, the media and everything, that if you're white, you're considered a racist. But of course, as we see here way back in 1969, that is not true. And so here we go. We're going to return to the scene here. We see that Man-Mountain Marko is dangling this girl, from this window here. And, she's going to fall to her death. We see that Spider-Man has no choice but to save her as he dives out the window, allowing Man-Mountain Marko to escape with that clay tablet. He allows to catch her just in time with his webbing, and he saves her. And he returns to her apartment, but Man-Mountain Marko has left the scene. Now we return here. We're with Caesar Cesaro here, and we see here that we are introduced to another villain, and that villain is Silvermane. So Silvermane is in charge of the Mafia here. He's a very old gentleman, and we see here that Caesar Cesaro is looking to take his place. We see that Man-Mountain Marko returns with that clay tablet. He was sent by Silvermane to retrieve that clay tablet. Even Spider-Man wasn't able to defeat Man-Mountain Marko. We see here that Wilson does in fact says, yep, that is the real McCoy here. And we see here that, again, we do not know the secrets behind that clay tablet, but we know for certain that it is very valuable. So now we're going to see Spider-Man. He's going to return to his apartment that he's sharing with Harry Osborn. We see that Harry Osborn is out on another date. And we see here that Peter Parker is thinking about gathering up some money. He needs to pay for Aunt May's Florida vacation, and he gets the idea that he's going to call Curt Conners. Curt Conners being the lizard. Curt Conners is into natural science, and he wants to see if he can work for Curt Conners sometime in the future and also learn from him. So he tries to call Curt Conners. He gets his wife on the phone, and we learn here that Curt Conners was pretty much kidnapped by two men. And we don't know exactly where he's going, but as we soon find out here, that that is in fact true, that he was kidnapped, but he was kidnapped by the Mafia. And so we see here that Silvermane is going to try to use Curt Conners here as bait here, and also to try to get the secrets of that clay tablet. And we also see that Curt Conners is going to be worrying about what could happen as danger is starting to unravel here. Will he turn into the lizard? That's what we got to look forward to next as we look at issue number 74. I hope to see you next time, and with this continuing storyline surrounding this clay tablet. And until next time, keep reading comics.